May I request Dr. Rajnish Das?
Yeah. Thank you, Dr. Das. We had been doing some work on financial inclusion and use of technology. I've been teaching technology adoption. When you typically look into this aspect of money and the way money has evolved, see, at one point in time there was barter, so where I could have kind of got something with exchange of potatoes. Then cash came in. After that, checks came in. After that, plastic money came in. Now people are talking about mobile-based money. Now, one of the things that perhaps you will find around the globe, across societies, is with a new wave of a new technology coming in, it doesn't mean that the older way of transaction has completely vanished from the market, right? So when people have been using credit card, they were also carrying cash. While people had been using debit card, some of them also used a mobile banking kind of platform, may not be for transaction, but majorly for information gathering. So how much amount do I have in my account? Now, so this being one thing. The other thing, if you look into technology adoption, especially in the case of India, is technology adoption in Indian society has happened well, where the government has not intervened. So the government never came and told one of us, saying you buy a mobile phone and then you use it, and if you are able to use a mobile phone, then your overall economic value or the amount of transactions that you will be able to do will go up. Coming up to the point of literacy, whether illiterate people will be able to do transactions, we have seen, one of the major concerns when we had been discussing about mobile money was that mobile money will only be successful if people know how to use a mobile phone, right? If there is no mobile phone, there is no mobile money. There was a UN study that we had done, and we found that more than 99% of the people, whether literate, illiterate, of whatever age group, whatever gender, they knew how to switch on and switch off a mobile money. See, you have to have a mobile phone, and you should know how to switch on that mobile phone. Then only the mobile money transactions can happen, right? We also found that even when you talk to your drivers and maids, and different forums, I keep on hearing examples of drivers and maids being the worst sufferers. But I think there are sufferers kind of down the line as well. Think of those people who live in tribal areas, and I'm not mentioning rural areas. I'm talking about tribal areas, because if you really have to go to a tribal area, it will take you at least 2 days to reach there. So in India, with all the kind of conveyance that you have. So if you have landed up somewhere that has not taken you 2 days, you have not arrived in a tribal area. There, the modus operandi of barter still exists, because getting a bank account, going to an ATM with your micro ATMs and micro POS being there, with all the initiatives that happened. People are pretty touchy and feely and privacy concerned when it comes to money, right? Especially in villages, nobody wants to tell the society at large how much money I am carrying at my home, right? Because snatching and all those things keeps on happening. So one of the issues is definitely that how that problem gets solved, where people have dearth of cash, and the way they will be able to access when we're talking about virtual plastic money, very happily putting the cart before the horse. There are areas where there is no network. In fact, in the hotel we are staying yesterday night, both Professor Jha and myself, internet is pretty pathetic, right? So what transaction do I do? I can't even send an email. It was better to go off to sleep earlier. So in those areas, these things then become defunct. One. Second, when it comes to corruption only changes hands. Changing the mode of payment typically will perhaps not help in doing away with corruption. So we were doing this study of a public distribution system, a PDS, a ration card system in one of the large states in India, and the pilot study that was being done, where the decision makers, the policy makers were very excited that they will bring in a lot of IT in public distribution system, and that will do away with the corruption completely. and we were doing a pilot on midday meal scheme, and see how corruption changed hands. Initially the quality and the quantity of the grains that were being supplied in the warehouses was not being measured, so you put a digital scale there. The quantity then became fixed, then the quality started being compromised. Okay, you then do a random check. And all these things happened. To the extent when we started making surprise visits for midday meal schemes in different schools, those kids of 4, 5 years age, 6 years age, 7 years age, they don't have any idea about the promised quality of rice that they should have got in the midday meal, right? So school teachers started using compromising in the quality. So at one point in time, without any technology, when corruption was happening at the warehouse, with the introduction of a lot of technology, the corruption changed hands and made the teachers corrupt, right? So this is how things kind of move on. Technology adoption model has been pretty well studied in literature for IT strategy, IT adoption, and technology adoption is typically a social behavioral problem. As Professor Jha was mentioning, the presence of technology per se doesn't mean anything, because it's anyways the presence doesn't mean anything, because if the person doesn't know how to use it, so it's a complementary asset, then the technology doesn't make any difference. Two typical drivers have been found. One is the perceived ease of use, as Professor Agarwal was mentioning, is how easy is it to use. And the second is the perceived usefulness. So is it actually useful to use, or is it actually easy to use? But with the lack of infrastructure, so for example, if I go to a pawn shop and they don't accept ATM, Paytm, or whatever, or they don't have a debit card swiping machine, with the lack of the right kind of infrastructure, which becomes difficult, then chances are that say for example, what I am seeing in my near vicinity is the decision of taking your wallet out has become a very conscious decision. So whether I have to pay, whether I pay, with what form I pay is a second question. But whether I go and consume this product and service is the first question that naturally comes, right? That is now being considered. So people are saying, oh, do you actually need to take a rickshaw from BKC to go to this office? Why don't we walk down? I said, okay, walk down, right? So that basically, if that continues, then the rate at which the economy was growing perhaps will come down. The overall size of the economy shrinks, and I don't understand where the government will have eternal kitty of money to fund infrastructure, ensure that the merchants start accepting in different formats, and people start using virtual and classified.